All right, drone video of an amazing tract at Elm Hollow on Bull Shoals Lake. We're parked at the county road. This is the tract that actually has the original log cabin on it. And we're looking at a survey marker right there. There's about 16 tracts at Elm Hollow. The tracts have actually not been surveyed, but the exterior boundaries of Elm Hollow have. And so that was one of those markers, which is actually also one of the corners of this tract. So if you wanted to have a tract surveyed, you could certainly do so. If you were to build a boundary fence, or if you wanted to build right near the property line, then that might be a good investment to have that done. Okay, so we just took off and we're looking northerly. That's the county road. The land sits on the left. It's got over 500 feet of county road frontage, so it goes way up that county road, sits on the left, kind of slopes down from the county road. There's a creek bed that crosses diagonally over about the middle of the property, and then when you cross over that, it starts to slope back up. Actually, the ground lays as nicely or more nicely than any other tract out here, which is very likely why they built that cabin on there a couple hundred years ago. Generally, when you find an old homestead, it was likely built in the very best spot that they could find, because as hard as and as time consuming as it is today to build, think about a couple hundred years ago with no power and just hand tools. Bull Shoals Lake, beautiful. You can see the little private setting for the peninsula. From the end of the county road, there's a trail that actually takes you down to the end of that little peninsula. If we look on the lower right, now we've spun around a little bit. Now if you look kind of to the left, this particular tract has about 50 feet of direct frontage on the take line on the Corps of Engineer land. So you can walk right to the water from this property on the Corps land. You can fish, you can swim, maybe even put a canoe or a kayak in the water. And then there are access points, of course, for your boat or jet skis in the area. That little peninsula we just saw could potentially be a place to launch a jet ski or a small boat. It would just be a primitive style launch. You can see the power line right there. There's power directly on the property, which is fantastic. It actually crosses over the kind of the east side in two locations. We're parked on the east side of the county road at the start of the strip that extends easterly to the take line. Excuse me. So looking northerly, essentially northwesterly at the property, there's county road. So from the county road, if you go left or west, you can kind of see how it slopes down here. And I believe we're trying to track down where the cabin is located. So we didn't know anything about this cabin until we stumbled upon it. Basically, we saw on the older topo map that there was a little dot, which generally does indicate some kind of structure, but sometimes it'll just be an old shed or whatnot. And in this case, it was an old original log cabin, and there we can see the roof of it. Now it's in rough shape, but I wouldn't say it's completely past the point of no return. You can see some huge walnut trees. Those are those kind of longer leaves clustered together that are blowing around in the wind. Okay, so metal roof with a bunch of vines growing up over it. We've got a ground video that gives you a much better look, but again, it's in really rough shape, but man, it's cool. Original hand-hewn logs. That would really be something to restore. I mean, you would have just a really historic place. Looks like there are quite a few tall walnut trees, which is fantastic. Black walnuts can be an extremely valuable tree. And the original homesteaders out there would have likely had black walnuts in and around the yard. Walnuts are great to eat, obviously, and you can use the not the shells, but the outer part, that when they fall off the tree and it almost looks like a little apple, there's that outer spongy part that covers the shells, and that can be used to make a pretty effective stain or a dye. And even to this day, walnut is an extremely popular stain color. It would have been, if you lived in these days in a log cabin, probably if you stained anything, you stained it walnut colored, because that's what you had. We had an office cat who's visiting today, and she's a little grumpy, so you might hear her throughout the video. Beautiful mixture of timber. I mean, all kinds of different species. We're looking for the little creek bed that crosses over the property. There it is. There it is. Now this is some summertime video. I'm not sure if it's midsummer or late summer or what. But you can see the gravel creek bed, ancient creek bed. It's beautiful. We didn't even mention, but this is the tract. We found sections of an original hand-stacked rock wall that's going to be on the northern side of the creek bed. One of the coolest things we've ever seen, and it's on this property. Likely, there's part of that was probably part of the yard. I mean, they would have taken advantage of any nice level areas adjacent to the cabin. And as we look at the old topo map, and if you watch the intro video on this, it's got a ton of information. It's a long intro video that we put together because there's so much going on here. But you can see on the old topo that quite a bit was probably pasture, meadow, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. And it's just reverted into timber since it hasn't really been used as pasture. But that rock wall on the north side of the creek bed is totally unique, amazing. Check out the ground video to see a little bit of that. The creek itself is going to be a wet weather creek. We kind of have a feeling that when the log cabin was built a couple hundred years ago, that it was very possibly a year-round creek at that point. And that can change one way or the other, because they would have needed a water source, and the lake did not exist at that point. That was created in the 1950s. So looking southerly, Bull Shoals Lake, of course, is phenomenal. What a unique property. The intro video should be helpful. The maps and whatnot in the listing page should be helpful. The interactive map. Of course, you're more than welcome to go and physically view the property, so long as it's still available. That little trail you see is on the other side of the county road, and that's on private land. Okay, so right now the property sits on the right side of the county road as we're looking southerly, until where the truck is parked. The truck is parked on that 50-foot strip that extends east or left as we look south, directly to the Corps of Engineer land. And I kind of wish we would have done a better flyover of that strip, but it is what it is. I know we're about to land here. Whoa. Phenomenal property. I mean, wow. It's awesome. So that's going to be tract 5 at Elm Hollow on Bull Shoals Lake. If you have any questions on this one, just let us know, but visit our website to check availability and give us a call if you have any questions.